The idea was to potentially, someday when I have a little bit of money, to build a cabin on my property. Like most anything that I do, I try to sort of plant the seed and water it over time to see if it can come to anything.
Initially, you don't want concepts to be constrained. You want to kind of harvest good ideas out of crazy, because there's truth in some of that crazy.
Jon Falcon's been a friend of mine for quite some time. He seemed like just a natural pick for somebody to work with to design these concepts for these cabins.
These concepts are kind of pushing the limit of engineering.
The idea was to go ahead and to see if we can't take one of them to the next level, which is sort of, taking it from a sketch to an actual model. See if it should actually exist in reality or not. The idea of making this architectural model out of metal was for longevity, I personally don't want to make something that has no staying power.
The more typical process would have been to use balsa or pine or some type of very soft wood. For our scale model, we've got materials that are very hard, that require laser cutting and precision drafting.
What's the point of making something at all if it's going to be garbage in a short period of time? We had a couple of people help us out with this build because, like usual, it always takes more than just two people, a couple of days. We had Brandon help us out with the welding aspects on this thing. We also had Laura from Architectural Elements come give us a hand.
Go evenly, continuous.
She's one of our expert finishers. The easy way to do this would probably have been just sort of laser cut steel plates for the wall. But Jon had suggested that we sort of layer the steel, basically cut rings, so to speak, and stack them up.
The bonus of that would you get all this texture, all this inherent kind of layering. That process is much more difficult, more intensive.
Looks like more effort went into it. And it certainly was a bit more effort, that's for sure.
We ran into a series of problems where things were distorted by heat and inconsistencies in something that is, cut and exposed to a great deal of stress. Did you get bored midway?
Sorry. So when we bonded all the pieces together, we ended up having to sort of call an audible and do things a little bit differently than we were initially thinking. And ended up sort of screwing the thing together rather than dowel pinning it all the way through.
The veneer that we adhered was an attempt to blur those lines of indoor and outdoor, right?
Sort of that inside-outside look.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
As everybody knows, adding lighting to something makes it cooler, right? Actually sanded off the very tip of the LEDs as well, which is sort of a technique to get the light to sort of diffuse out. Gives it another layer of difficulty and interest.
Yeah, as if we didn't need one more, right? It's like, let's do metal, let's do glass, and some casual lighting.
Yeah, how long could it take to make an architectural model? I mean, it's only this big, right? So
that was hard. You know, one of the values of a scale model is that we get answers to a problem that in a digital space are sometimes hard to get answers to.
it was cool to sort of visualize it and see it all come together. I feel like I'm definitely more inclined to actually make the real version of it.
It takes a certain level of ambition to make something out of steel the first time.
Part of the reasoning for making this thing out of steel for me is the idea that, 60 years from now, this thing could still exist. Whereas if it was, made from paper or balsa, it would pretty much have started some architect's fire by then,
And when you're this invested in time and labor, more apprehension to throw it away.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like, well, this actually has some inherent value here.
Yeah.
It's like, at least I should recycle this thing.
Yeah, my grandkids should probably play with this.